Hello, hello. Welcome back to the weekly Monday Motivation Podcast, No More Excuses. This is Sandi Ballard, the badass business coach, right? Helping people realize their badassness. Thanks for listening and for sharing. And if you've not connected with me on social media yet, please do. Instagram, Twitter, Taskmaster Sandi, or just make sure you search for Sandi with an I, Ballard. You'll find me. Connect with me, right? I want to give a huge shout out to Jen Edds of the Brassy Broadcasting Company. So if you want to check her out, it's brassybroad.com. She helped me get these podcasts started like over 3 years ago. And like every Monday for over 3 years, now 8 episodes into year 4. I mean, it still blows my mind. And without her, I certainly wouldn't be here. And without you guys, I wouldn't have kept going. So thank you again for listening, for sharing, for commenting, for reaching out to me and connecting. And please make sure you do message me when you connect with me on social media so I know you're a listener. And of course, if you're commenting about the podcast or the daily question or article that I post, then obviously I should know, right? So last week's podcast was about stepping out of your comfort zone, realizing how amazingly badass you are, right? To help you understand how to exude confidence. And ironically, I was at Linking Indy Women last week to hear Jen speak. She is highly introverted as hell, but also a singer, musician. She admitted her instruments are her safety net, and she had to step way out of her comfort zone to speak to a group of women. There was a couple men there, I think, but it was at least 150 people. I mean, it was standing room only. It was amazing. She realized her badassness, she exuded confidence, and she freaking rocked it. She shared her story and inspired many. And she, like I said, is the one that inspired me years ago to get going on this adventure. So how about you? You know, if you haven't listened to that previous podcast, go back to 159. I'll just go back to number 1, right? And just, binge them. But last week's podcast, was asking you to, if you were confident enough to share your experience, your expertise with someone. Because a lot of times we aren't. We don't want to sound braggy. We don't want to, I don't know, sometimes you can't and you aren't comfortable speaking in front of groups. How can you do that, right? And ironically, right now in my coaching school, Coachville, they have a daily challenge. And one of the challenges on the 20th, I believe, was to share a success story about a client. To learn how to share what you do, who you are, how you've helped with others confidently. And it was just interesting because I was like, that's really what I've been talking about. And so I posted my share there. So, 3 months and 2 years ago, I didn't have the confidence or the know-how to start a podcast. I called upon an expert. I had randomly met Jen. I can't even remember how I met her, probably at Linking Indy Women or networking somewhere. I just met her at just the right time. It's interesting how that happens, hey? It took me a little bit of time to get started, but I met with her. She had me go through, I was like one of her beta testers on her podcasting program and school. And so it took me a little time to get started, but I had to step out of my comfort zone as well. And why? Because I am an extrovert. I don't mind speaking in front of people. But for this podcast, I truly don't like my voice. I never, ever have. And so I'm like, I am going to record my voice. It was a struggle. I had to work past it, right? I had to figure out what I could do to move past that and make this happen. So, what did I do to move past it? I knew if I replayed it, I would hate it. So, I don't replay. I might replay it just for a second to make sure it actually recorded, but I don't listen to it. So you get what one take gives, right? So lucky you. I figured out how to get past the stress, the frustration, the anxiety about what my podcast sounded like. It's not easy to start. It's not, and it's even harder to keep going, right? It's not easy to start, and it's even harder to keep going. If you've been listening for a while, you might remember the Keep On Keeping On podcast. And now, because I've been doing this for so long, I almost panic if I haven't sat down to write my podcast by Thursday or Friday. Saturday, it sometimes is stressful, but if I've had a crazy week, then that's how it has to happen. But it's become a habit for me. It's a part of my life. It's a marketing tool, an outlet, and a way to share not just my experiences, and expertise, but my clients. I share what things my clients have gone through, so it will hopefully help you. And if nothing else, it'll help you realize you are not alone in this crazy ass world called life, right? And so what about you? What is something you had to work through, overcome, to achieve a goal? Think about it. And how have you kept going? Who has kept you going? And if you haven't, why? And you definitely need to email me, sballard@growingforward.biz, and schedule a time to talk. Otherwise, post here or email me, sballard@growingforward.biz. What's something you had to overcome, to work through, to achieve a goal? And how have you kept going? All right? I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great badass week. Cheers.